Good morning to all the respected dignitaries, esteemed speakers, and dear participants. Under the benevolence of our Honorable Chancellor Sir, Dr. A.C. Shanmugan Sir, President ER ACS Arun Kumar Sir, and Honorable Secretary Thiru A. Ravi Kumar Sir, the Faculty of Pharmacy, Dr. MGR Educational Research Institute, Chennai, is organizing a series of awareness programs, hands-on workshops, guest lectures, and conferences. We express our heartfelt thanks to our Professor S. Geetalakshmi Ma'am, our Vice Principal, for her constant support, guidance, and encouragement. Least but not least, thanks to our beloved Principal, Dr. N. Harishan Sir, for unwavering support and belief in our vision, have inspired us every step of way. On behalf of Faculty of Pharmacy, Dr. MGR Education Research Institute, I warmly welcome you all for day 4 of our International E-FDP on Sustainable Faculty Empowerment, Advancement Pedagogy, Wellness, and Scholarly Excellence. Before we begin today's session, I would like to present a brief report of day 1 to day 3. Day 1, we had one international and one national speaker. International speaker from USCI University, Malaysia, and national speaker from NIPER. They emphasized on teaching pedagogy and outcome-based education. On day 2, we had one international speaker from University of Cyberjaya and one national speaker from Savita Medical College, India. Both emphasized on topic writing and startup detailing, which is very essential. On day 3, we had a national speaker from Annamalai University who emphasized on AI tools in research. So overall, all the 3 days were a great success with active participation and valuable knowledge sharing. So today, we are having a distinguished guest with us for our day 4 session. I would like to take this opportunity to introduce Dr. Hema VH, Principal, Faculty of Nursing. Thank you. And before we begin our today's session, I would like to invite Dr. Dhanlashmi, Assistant Professor, Department of Pharmacy Practice, to introduce the esteemed speaker. Dhanlashmi.
Good afternoon, all. It's my privilege to introduce today's esteemed speaker, Ms. Makhotso Merriam Ralehike. Ms. Ralehike is a highly accomplished nursing professional, occupational health nurse practitioner, and dedicated educator with over a decade of rich experience in clinical practice, occupational health services, and academic teaching. She is currently serving as a nursing lecturer and also pursuing her PhD in nursing science at University of Pretoria, where her research focuses on addressing healthcare challenges in resource-limited and water-scarce settings. She holds a master's degree in bioethics and health law, along with multiple postgraduate qualifications, reflecting her strong academic foundation. She has actively contributed to national and international conferences and is deeply engaged in research that promotes ethical practice and evidence-based healthcare. With her vast expertise in patient care, clinical supervision, curriculum development, and occupational health, she continues to inspire and shape future healthcare professionals. We are truly honored to have her with us today. I now invite Ms. Makhotso Merriam Ralehike to deliver her session.
Thank you very much, Doc, for a nice presentation. Am I clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Thank you. My name is Makhotso Merriam Ralehike. As my doctor has said, I am the lecturer at one of the nursing colleges in Southern Africa, Northern Cape, at Henrietta Stockdale. I am honored today, and I would like to thank this opportunity of being invited and this fruitful and informative webinar to share my knowledge on the topic that was given to me. I would like to share my slides with you and share what I had prepared. Okay. I don't know if I can, okay, yeah. Can you see my slides?
Yes, ma'am, it's visible.
Thank you very much. I am tasked today to share about HAMI, effective teaching and stress reducing techniques for the pharmacy faculty. Like I presented to you, my name is Makhotso Ralehike. I'm a PhD candidate at the University of Pretoria. I'm also a lecturer at the Henrietta Stockdale Nursing College in Southern Africa. The presentation today will be asking ourselves and getting to know what is teaching and what is effective teaching. And we'll also explore some of the effective teaching strategies and get to know what is the stress management, why stress management matters in pharmacy education, and getting to understand the academic stress, and also share some of the self-care principles adopted or developed by Dr. Chipu from University of Western Cape in one of her scripts. We will also share some of the principles of effective teaching for a calm environment, stress reducing techniques for lecturers, stress reduced techniques to reduce student stress for the lecturers, as well as sharing some of the classroom practices that promotes calmness. There is also some of the information that we'll share on the tools and resources that ought to be in our classrooms. I had just adopted this video that shares with us what is university. They say a university is a place where new ideas germinate, root strike, and grow tall and steady. It is a unique space that covers the entire universe of knowledge. It is a place where creative minds converge, interact, and construct versions of a new reality. What is teaching? What exactly are we referring to when we talk of a teaching? A teaching may be regarded as a providing opportunities for students to learn. But we must also take note that it is both interactive process and international activity. So both the teacher and the student need to embark in this process. They are effective teaching that we as a lecturers at the universities need to consider. And one of the literatures that I read when I was preparing for this presentation stated that the lecturers in universities have three functions. And amongst them, the main function is to teach, do research, and manage. What exactly are we managing? We are managing those students, we are managing our teaching environment, which is the classroom management. And effective teaching, it seems to be complex in a sense that it is intellectually demanding and it's a socially challenging task. It consists of a set of skills that can be acquired, improved, and extended. So as lecturers, we need to have the skills that we had acquired. There are skills that we already have that needs to be improved. And there are skills that needs to be extended in a sense that there will be the skills that you will know, but because of evolving information, evolving technology, evolving space, you will need to extend your knowledge on them. Effective teaching also, it's intellectually demanding in a sense that it requires the teacher to know. You must have a deep sense of what you are teaching and also be a master of that subject. So you must take time to prepare. And also, like I said, there are things that you will need to improve. There are things that you will need to acquire. There are things that you will need to extend your knowledge on. So it needs or it acquires a lecturer or a teacher to dig deeper on what they know so that they can be the masters of those subjects that they are teaching. Effective teaching also needs certain elements or key elements from the lecturer or the teacher, which is you must be able to think and be a problem solver. That's why you have to dig deeper on the subject that you are teaching. You must be able to analyze a topic and a subject that you are teaching in a sense that it must be enjoyable for the students. You must be able to see how can you, or what are the critical points that needs to be taught to the student. It also requires you to be able to reflect upon what is an appropriate approach, to also select key strategies and material. As a lecturer, you will realize that the approaches for different units, for instance, in a module, will be quite different depending on the content of the module or the content of the unit. So you will have to approach it or approach them differently using different strategies as well as material. There are subjects that just need you to play the video, for instance, for the student maybe to understand the concept or the key knowledge that you want to assess or bring to them. And there will be those that will need a group discussion. And there will be those that maybe will require you to give a task for research. So the approach should accommodate the content. And one of the effective teaching also is the lecturer should be able to organize, structure ideas, information, and tasks for the students. This clearly means that, like I said, some approaches are different when you want to communicate a different idea to the student. So you must be able to organize. You must be able to structure those ideas so that the student grasps them easier. It also requires a lecturer to consider what the students know, to communicate clearly to them what is needed of them, and also to stimulate them to learn, think, communicate, and perhaps in their turn to stimulate their teachers. They are tasks that need a high cognitive knowledge assessment. And to do that or to stimulate or assess that, you will have to stimulate the student at some instances. So don't just expect that to come only from you. The students can also test or stimulate their lecturer or the teacher. What is effective teaching in summary? It means teaching effectively. You must know as the lecturer your subject, know how your student ought to learn, and how you can teach. They are effective teaching strategies that different authors had proposed. And what I have seen, most of them, or often it is suggested that the indirect but powerful way of improving your teaching is to improve how your students learn. Colleagues, this simply means you must have different ways of accommodating how your students learn. Other students learn through pictures. Other students learn through audio recordings. Other students learn through discussions. Others learn through writing. So we must try to improve on how our students are learning. And there are different proposed teaching methods that different authors had suggested. And one of them is to have a course plan or a module plan. And this is very crucial in learning because the lecturer has the role of planning and controlling the educational process for the students to be able to achieve a comprehensive learning experience. So we must learn to plan our modules, have a lesson plans, have a module plans, so that we give out the best to our students and we make their learning experience exciting and very informative for them. In the very same note, Craig and colleagues in their article, Teaching and Learning in Education, they had raised some questions and want the faculty member to ask themselves these questions regularly, especially when you want to achieve effective teaching strategies. And one of the questions that we ought to ask ourselves is how to increase the students' motivation. Colleagues, we are teaching students, but I must tell you, every table in the classroom has a story to tell. Meaning, different students, they come to learning institutions with different roles or different vision or different backgrounds. So you must try by all means to try to motivate your students. Remind them of their dream. Remind them of where you want them, you and them, to reach. So we must have ways on how to increase the students' motivation. The other question that we must ask ourselves is how to help the student feel confident in solving problems. Remember, we are teaching the pharmacist, and we don't just want pharmacists. We want those exceptional, competent, globally recognized students. So how are we going to help them to feel confident in starting new innovations and being confident in solving those problems that we want them to solve. So we must have ways on helping them first to feel confident in solving the problems so that they achieve what they ought to achieve. And the other question that we must ask ourselves is how to teach the student to plan their learning activity. Planning is very important, especially in higher institutions. Both the student and the lecturer ought to have a very feasible and a very achievable plan for their learning activities. So we must take the very same skills and transfer them to the students so that they are also able to plan for their learning activities. The other question that was asked is how to help them to carry out self-assessment at the end of each lesson. What is important here is the student should be able to reflect back on what was taught in class. But they shouldn't just reflect back. They should apply those lessons in their real world situation so that their world can make sense. The other question that we must ask ourselves is how to encourage the students to motivate them for future work. Like I said before, we are growing future pharmacists and globally recognized pharmacists. So we must keep them motivated so that they see the world as the better place. And lastly, we should also ask ourselves, how can I give a feedback to the student and inform them about their individual learning? Here we are referring to a constructive feedback opportunity for the student. The lecturer has to give both the positive and the negative or improving points to the students. Here you start by telling the student what they mastered or what they had achieved and how they can correct what they didn't do well. So we must learn the skill of giving a feedback to the student that won't break them, but rather improve them, and they must keep motivated in this learning process. The other effective teaching strategy that was proposed was to have a meta-cognition training, a self-assessment of students during teaching. Here, the explanation is about explaining the lessons in a very plain language and give feedback to students, as well as explaining the causes and reasons of the issues. Remember, we are growing the critical thinkers, the problem solvers. So they must own the teaching and learning process. They must own this that we are teaching them. So it must come in a very simple, in a very understandable language. And even when they have to have a feedback, it must be a constructive one, like I said earlier. And they must know the causes of what they did and how they can improve. Why did you decide to not give them the credit? Why did you decide to rather test them in a very high cognitive instead of just testing it in a lower cognitive level? So they must understand these things. The other strategy that was proposed was using a conceptual map and pre-organizing plan in training. This simply means improving the quality of learning through promotion of teaching, emphasizing student-centered learning, and developing the skills needed for employment. These are strategies that are outlined in the lifelong learning, particularly in higher education. What it means is the teaching or the learning must be student-driven. It must not be the lecturer who's always giving out. Students should not be seen as the empty vessels and lecturers as the master of them all. But we must change or exchange roles so that the teaching and learning can be a progress for the student that is enjoyable. This is very, and so that the process also can inspire the students to be lifelong learners. The other strategy that was proposed was engaging creativity during teaching and lessons, which incorporate teaching innovations or technology innovations in teaching. The previous speaker, I think a day before yesterday, spoke about how artificial intelligence can improve our lives. This is where it comes in. How can we engage the creativity in our teaching by incorporating those AI? AI is part of us going forward. So we must try to incorporate it into our teaching. There is a say that they believe that creative talent is universal and that it will be strengthened with appropriate programs. So we believe our students are creative talents. We are not grooming just the students, but we are growing lifelong learners. We are growing a creative talent. People who be, like I said before, globally recognized. So we must make and believe in their creative minds. And the other strategy of effective teaching was to explain and develop knowledge on how to resolve the issues in future career through classroom discussion. Like I said before, students should not be seen as the empty vessels, but rather they should engage with their lecturers. They should be in dialogue with each other so that we stimulate most effective and creative classroom environment. So the most effective teacher will monitor the progress and assess how they had changed in practice. So here you will start to monitor your students' learning progress and try to support them in every way that you can. If the student needs a psychological support, I assume and I'm thinking there are such services in each and every higher institution, and there are measures in which we can support the students if whatever that they are encountering is somehow affecting their learning. Lastly, on the effective teaching strategy is to documenting experiences. This is a skill. Documentation is a skill, and it's not every lecturer or every teacher that loves to write. Some of us, like myself, I can do everything. But when it comes to record keeping or managerial papers, I don't like that part. But it is part of me. I have to do. So it's a skill that I have to do in my teaching learning environment. It's part of the process I cannot run away from. So we must facilitate such skills as well to provide easier access to up-to-date information. Why is stress management important? Oh, why does it matter so much in pharmacy education? As lecturers in higher institutions, we are having a high cognitive load for both the students and lecturers. So we need to have ways in which we can manage the stress in relation to how we can reduce the load. And where we are is a very fast-paced curriculum. Things get to change fast. And as the higher institutions, we must be able to learn to swim in the mud so fast that our students learn the latest that comes out. And they are also a clinical expectations from particularly students in higher institutions. So it is important that we learn to have stress management strategies so that we render a high quality learning opportunity. And if we fail to do that, that can impact on our teaching quality and our student outcomes. It is important to understand that academia has its own unique way of giving a stress. And the common stresses for lecturers is the workload. Teaching in higher institution is not as easy as teaching in lower phases. And there is also admin pressure. In South Africa, we have the council that regulates us as healthcare providers. So I assume in India, there's also such. So there will be regulations that changes, and we have to adapt to that and be very fast in those paces that they want us to run. So there is a lot of admin pressure there when it comes to academic year. When it starts, things tends to pile up. You must do module guides. There is a recruitment process happening simultaneously. There are also other graduations happening. There are also students that need to go to clinical accompaniment. So the lecturers, they need to understand that that comes with academia. And there is also a stressor on the student performance. We have to account why there is a certain performance in your module and why the students are not improving, or if one student is not coping, you have to account as the lecturer to tell how did you help the student on their learning. So, colleagues, there are signs of burnout that we must look out for. A chronic fatigue. We must look out for this monster. We must have the ways of finding ways of relaxation or managing a very stressful environment so that we avoid fatigue. We must have ways on how to plan our activities, like I said earlier, so that we avoid fatigue. There is also irritability. That is the sign of burnout. A reduced motivation, people who always threaten that they will resign or they are leaving. Just know that that can be the sign that they are burning out. So as the colleagues, we must reach out to that individual. And it is of importance that we realize these signs or we recognize them earlier so that we give such a colleague a support. Probably we can also refer that the colleague so that they can learn certain skills on how they can manage their work, how can they manage their stress, how can they stay motivated? Because I don't want to think of the classroom that has demoralized lecturer. That learning process won't be as effective like we earlier said. So the study by Chipu et al. 2022 suggested that we must do a self-care. We tend to care so much on students. We tend to care so much for our colleagues and we neglect ourselves. So how can we have a coping strategies for self-care. This includes having an emotional self-care activities that will emphasize identifying and managing our emotions. We must have self-care activities that will make us to identify our emotions and be able to know them. You must be able to recognize when you are not feeling well. And don't ignore the feeling. You are not well. And we must have ways of managing strong emotions. If I'm angry at my fellow colleague, there should be ways of having emotional strategy on how to control my emotions. And the other strategy is to have effective stress management strategy and life skills such as time management, decision making, and problem solving skills. Like I said earlier, you must be able to know when you are not coping. And probably colleagues voicing it out to your fellow colleague can also help. Having a colleague that you share your stresses with and your concerns can also be an effective way of managing your stress. But most importantly, in the higher institution world, and especially universities, time management is key. Reaching those deadlines is most important thing so that you avoid overwhelming yourself with a lot of tasks that you cannot do anymore. If you doubt your decision on a particular task that you want to give to your student, you can give it to your colleague and ask so that you validate this that you want to do. You can ask your colleague to say, I am thinking of giving the students this task and this is how I want to approach it. Do you think it will be of the best, or am I pushing it too hard on them? So that you don't have to stress so much with smaller tasks that can be maybe referred to others and they give a solution to it. The other strategies that CHIP et al. 2022 suggested was to enhance group interaction. It is important, colleagues, that we get along, we support each other. This can be done in so many ways. Workshops like this excited me because when I heard of it, I jumped and said, oh my goodness, I'm meeting people from India. And I started telling my colleagues that I'm going to present on calm minds, and some were already suggesting some approaches on how to share the information. And this was so exciting to see that there are people who are also supporting you or supporting me in my career, in my academic world. So we do this by starting to do the workshop and webinars where we share tasks and interact with each other and share knowledge that we know. This can be one of the strategies that the higher institutions can start to implement. And also have a social support to cope with emotional demanding situations. Like I said before, you should have that one specific colleague that you can vent to, that you can share your most stressful experiences with, so that they can give a social support. And other things that other people has done is to incorporate technology in the things. They had opened the WhatsApp group of the institution, and when there are certain things that needs agent attention or agent intervention or decision making. They write it down and other colleagues start to engage with them. So having a social support can also improve how we can manage the stress. The other thing that Chipu suggested was the issue of practicing spiritual self-care activities by having a prayer session and choosing a specific song maybe and engaging on reflective practices such as mediation. So some people have joined small spiritual groups so that they have this spiritual element also considered. So the principles of effective teaching for calm learning environment is clarity and structure in lesson delivery, active learning strategy, psychological safety in a classroom, and consistent communication. Some of the stressing reducing techniques for us lecturers, for us colleagues, is to have time blocking and workload planning. Like I said earlier, plan your activities. Have mindfulness and breathing exercises for those who are active. They can start to do their physical activities such as jogging. And for us who are so busy always in our offices, we can start having the breathing exercises and heavy meditations and other things. And the other thing is to set the boundaries with emails and student consultations. We cannot always be online forever with the students. So setting the boundaries with your students is key. My consultation period starts at this time and ends at this time. I don't take emails, I don't take phone calls unless emergency after 4 o'clock. It's my family time. Students should know that. The other thing is to have a peer support and collaboration, like I said earlier. So techniques to reduce student stress: be transparent with the assessment criteria. Do the regular formative feedbacks. Be flexible with your learning pathways. Try to have strategies that accommodate your setting and your students, and try to encourage them to have self-care and resilience. Having the classroom practices that promote calmness, have the open ritual, the grounding and check-ins, have low strikes, engagement on activities, have visual aids like PowerPoint presentation, structured notes, textbooks, smaller notes. You can have those. And have a noise and distractive management. Your student cannot always be distractive. So you must have means of managing such students. There are tools and resources for effective teaching, which are stress management apps. We can download them. Like I said, we can put in technology into our teaching and learning. We can also have academic workload planners, and we can have teaching support units. We can have professional development workshops. In conclusion, colleagues, calm lecturers create calm learning environments, and small habits lead to meaningful change. Commitment to well-being can also improve a teaching effectively and have a good impact on how we teach. Thank you very much.
Madam, it was really a engaging session we have some questions which got delivered to us from the participants. And I would like to invite Dr. Navakant sir to read out the questions to Ms. Makhotso. Sir, please.
Thank you, sir. Uh, these are the questions that stem from participants. So, what are the key principles of effective teaching that help create a calm learning environment? Madam, are you there? Makhotso?
Hello, I missed that.
Yeah. This is the question from the participants. So,
Okay.
what are the key principles of effective teaching that help create a calm learning environment?
Key principles of teaching that creates the calm environment. Is what the participant is asking.
He is asking what is the key principle of effective teaching that help create a calm learning environment. What is the key factor?
Okay, all right, perfect. Like I said before, the teaching should be student-centered. It must be student orientated. So engaging with the student is key. Having a transparent and open communication is important. So we have to focus on active engagement, be in a dialogue with the student. Like I said, students should not be seen as every time as empty vessels. They know something. They can teach a lecturer one or two things. So it is important that the lecturer are engaging with their student. And also, try to have a probed feedback that is very constructive. You cannot always be focusing on what wrong the student did, but we can always constructively build on how they can improve what they did wrong. The other thing is we shouldn't do high expectations on students, but we should try to build them in a sense that they are also a problem solvers. So you should try to engage with your student now and then, stimulate the high critical thinking. So that can also be a principle of a lecturer to create a calm environment. Engage with your students. Ask them, how would you like this to be taught? At times, it can improve on how they approach certain modules.
Thank you, madam. There is a specific question from pharmacy students. So, why is stress management is important in pharmacy education and academic settings?
Because we want them motivated. So how can they be motivated if they are stressed? If they cannot manage their time? So it is a key principle, it is a competency that we are teaching now so that they can use that skill later in their profession. So it is key that they learn these things at a very fundamental stage so that they apply them in their profession later on. So we teach them how to manage those now so that they can apply that in a real world situation when they are full recognized pharmacists.
Thank you, madam. These are the queries.
Thank you, sir. Now I invite Dr. Hema, Principal Faculty of Nursing, to kindly felicitate the speaker. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ma'am. It's an honor to felicitate you for being present here in the webinar and share your thoughts on the skill development and the role of lecturer. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ma'am,
Thank
did you
you
get
very much.
Yes. I just got two key words from you. University is a place where ideas germinate. That was truly a thoughtful word, and the suggestions what you had given for the lecturer. And I just gone through your Commonwealth abstract, which was submitted in 2024, and the role of nurse practitioners in low resource areas, especially water. I think this is your research area also. All the very best, madam. We will connect in future. I work in a nursing college along with Dr. Hari Krishnan, the same university. And our college started in 2005 with BSc nursing program. We have MSc nursing program also. We run two courses, BSc and MSc nursing program in our university. So we'll get connected with you and we will associate, madam. Thank you very much for this opportunity. I thank the FDP coordinators and the mastermind, Dr. Hari Krishnan, for curating this FDP so that we all will work collaboratively. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very, very much for inviting me. Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you, Doc. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for the felicitation. Dear participants, I have shared the feedback link so that you can finish it by today itself. And Makhotso, special thanks from my side because the session was really engaging as well as given many things to learn with it. Thank you. Thank you, participants.